Hey guys! Today we're going to Elsa's Ice Palace to make a whole assortment of winter treats for a frozen themed dessert table. There's snowflake shaped Rice Krispy Treats, baked donuts that are marbled with fabulous frozen inspired colors, as well as Winter Wonderland cake pops, chocolate covered pears that look like our friend Olaf, chocolate covered Oreos, and princess frame apples. All six of these treat ideas are perfect for any princess that's having a frozen theme party. So let's create something magical! The first treat we are making are these princess frame apples with all of our favorite frozen characters and sparkly accents to match the theme of Elsa and Anna's dresses. The frame trend is such an elegant way to play dress up with any of your treats. I chose to keep these apples simple by dipping in chocolate only. Feel free to dip them in a layer of caramel as well for an extra special treat. To start off, I have my Granny Smith apples that have been washed and dried beforehand, and wooden candy apple sticks with metallic silver straw covers. First, I'm inserting the sticks by hammering into the center with a mallet. These sticks are the perfect diameter to fit the straw covers so they slide right over, so I'll be sure to link the sticks I used in the description box down below. To make sure they are secure, I give the sticks another tap 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 to ensure the straw covers stay in place without sliding off, and finish removing any juice that escaped when inserting the sticks by wiping the stem area and bottom of the apple with a paper towel. Whenever you're dipping your apples in chocolate, a simple wash and dry is all you need. If you would like to see how to prepare caramel chocolate apples, you'll definitely want to refer to my Beauty and the Beast treats tutorial, where I show how to achieve similar apples with a simple, no-fail caramel method that is fast and uses only 2 ingredients. Now we're getting ready to dip. The key for apples is to dip at a low enough temperature while achieving as fluid of a consistency as possible. However, temperature varies depending on the brand of chocolate melt you use. Any craft store candy melts such as Wilton or Sweet Tooth Fairy brand are dipped at 93 to 95 degrees. However, Merkin's brand needs to be 83 degrees. And you want to thin it out with your choice of paramount crystals or oil. You see how loose the chocolate falls off the apple? That's how it should look. Apples are really funny, so keep in mind the looser the better. Apples are the 2 L's, low temperature and loose chocolates. After swirling the apple into the chocolate, gently shake off the excess and wipe the bottom along the side of your dipping container. These colors for the frozen theme were a light blue, lavender, and super white. When the chocolate has set, it's time to add a little bit of sparkle. This is the Diamond Dust from Sugar Art in the shade light blue. The best technique for an even application is to use a shaker and edible adhesive. After the chocolate is completely dry, all I'm doing is spreading the edible adhesive with a brush. When applying any fine dust or edible glitter, it's important to spread it around into a thin, even layer rather than piling on globs of adhesive. Spread what's on there first before adding more to prevent the glitter from appearing patchy or clumpy. Then go ahead and shake on that glitter. The Diamond Dust is very similar to Tinker Dust. They are both FDA approved edible glitters. Make sure to coat with the glitter as you turn the apple and check the top and bottom so that you don't miss anything. And this glittery blue apple matches the color of Elsa's dazzling dress. Another way to create an icy blue apple is with a fine sanding sugar. This particular one was from my local cake supply store and didn't have any label on the packaging. However, for the purple and white sanding sugar, they are both Sweet Tooth Fairy brand. I found them at Michael's Craft Store. I highly recommend their product. It's very fine and the quality is amazing. Sprinkle on your sanding sugar with a spoon after adding the edible adhesive. And for the other glittery apples, I have light purple diamond dust, which has almost a silvery finish mixed into it as well for a fun and unique look. I think Anna approves. And the white glitter was from the cake supply store. Unfortunately, I can't find the exact match on Amazon, but I will link any similar options in the description box below. Next, we are creating the fabulous chocolate frame to enclose the edible images. To fill the mold, I put the melt into a plastic squeeze bottle, or you can use a piping bag, whichever you prefer, and squeeze with a moderate pressure to thoroughly fill all the nooks and crannies. Another way to do this is to fill the mold with fondant, but I prefer the chocolate look since it's less bulky and clean with more definition. Pop this in the fridge for 15 minutes or until completely set.
Hi everyone, I'm Olaf.
When removing from the mold, it's super important to stretch the mold without putting pressure on the chocolate or it will break. Take your time stretching a little at a time and working with the edges. My favorite technique is to dump silver luster dust into a Ziploc bag and seal the chocolate frame inside. Then shake, shake, shake it all up to coat the frame just like shake and bake. Looks like a snowstorm is going on in there. After you finish coating the frame, brush off the extra luster dust to reveal the stunning silver frame that any princess will absolutely adore. Now the fun part is putting the frames together with our adorable edible images. These are from the Cupcake Studio store on Etsy in this size 1.5 inches. The images are made from frosting sheets since they are more vibrant and easier to work with than wafer paper. First, you want to take either edible adhesive or corn syrup and brush a thin band around the edges of the image. If you notice, the frosting sheet may change color from the sticky liquid, especially by her hair, but the frame will cover over that. Create a thin band as a glue, that way it will stick on just like that. For reference, my frame measures about 1 3/4 inches edge to edge, and the images were 1.5. Keep that in mind, the frame should be slightly bigger than the image, just in case you don't order the exact frame and images I used. To successfully attach the frame, we're reinforcing around the edge of the image to seal where the image and frame meets with the white melt and brushing some on the middle as well. Then carefully line it up in the center by holding in place for a few seconds to prevent breaking your frame, have a light pressure, and avoid bending. After a few seconds, let it go like the Snow Queen Elsa herself. She calls this one the Snow Queen apple. My biggest tips and tricks are to brush that chocolate wherever the image makes contact with the apple, and especially around the edge of the edible image. That way it's a lot stronger and not hanging by a thread from only the frosting paper. These apples look like they came out of Arendelle Castle. Treat number 2 are these Snowflake Oreos that are decorative and easy to make. Elsa is going to be helping us. She says you will need your favorite Oreos and a Snowflake Oreo mold. To make the process even more convenient, I recently found these silicone melting pots from Michael's. Not only do they keep the chocolate melted longer, they are also really handy to squeeze and pour your chocolate into the mold without making a mess. It's so much more controlled and better than a spoon. Fill the cavity a little more than halfway and sink the Oreo in until the extra chocolate spills over the top of the cookie. Then fill the rest and tap the mold to settle it out into a smooth layer. Finish by taking a cookie scribe or toothpick to poke any air bubbles that you see on the surface. There's lots of chocolate in these Oreo molds, so let's chill these for a good 15 minutes or until completely firm, and push them out wearing gloves to ensure the shiny surface on the chocolate doesn't smudge when handling them. Last but not least, let's decorate. I'm taking soft blue luster dust from Backel. Looks so deceiving, the powder doesn't look like much on camera. Once you pack it on with a large fluffy brush, you'll start to see the pearly effect. Elsa suggests for Oreos to pick them up to apply the luster around the bottom edges first and turn without touching what you just did to prevent any product from coming off. Then complete lusterizing the top part last. The snowflakes are going to be even more wintry, especially combined with a silver edible paint. Many of you guys send me questions about the edible paint. It's all about the painting consistency. To mix it, combine a silver luster dust with very small spoonfuls of Everclear vodka and mix. If the consistency is still too thick, add more vodka as needed. Avoid pouring in too much or your paint will become too loose. The Everclear brand achieves the most intense paint since it is a higher proof. I definitely recommend it over other clear alternatives. It just pops so much more. I'm painting this onto the snowflake with a small brush to cover all the small details. While you're working with it, the liquid may evaporate, so feel free to mix in more spoonfuls of vodka if you need to bring it back to that ideal painting consistency. These are the most wintry Oreos I've ever seen. Bruni the salamander from Frozen 2 wants to try them. Since we're making Olaf Chocolate Covered Pears, I have to ask, do you want to build a snowman? The best pears for dipping are called Andrew pears. Be sure to select ones that are able to stand up on their own, otherwise Olaf is going to tumble down into the snow. I prepared them with these same steps as we did for the apples earlier, dipping into merkins at 83 degrees with the ultra thinned out fluid-like consistency. I like to dip straight into a deli container or bowl. Being that pears are much more likely to fall off the stick, dip straight in and out. Gently wiggle the chocolate off without shaking too hard. Pears aren't nearly as strong as apples on the stick, so another tip is not to hammer the sticks in too hard, or you may split the skin of your pears. It's finally time to bring Olaf to life. For his hair, I melted a Tootsie Roll in the microwave for about 25 seconds just to soften it, similar to what you would do for caramel wrapped pretzel rods, heating just enough to make it moldable to shape. I'm rolling the Tootsie Roll into a long branch shape and cutting a piece off the end. Then cut the smaller piece in half to create two short branches. Then attach a section of the piece you cut to look like a little tree. Any pieces that are too long could always be trimmed down in size to proportion to the pears. Set his tree branch hair aside so we can apply his googly eyes. Place a small amount of melted chocolate on the back of a large sugar eye. And for his carrot nose, I shaped an orange piece of fondant with a pointy end and flat bottom to look like a carrot. Stick that on just below the eyes. And for his large open smile, I cut into gray fondant with a circle cookie cutter, then sliced that in half and secured below the nose with edible adhesive. To craft his toothy grin, let's play dentist and cut white fondant into a rectangle shape, almost like a chiclet, right in the center of his mouth. All that's missing are his curved brows. I chose to paint them on with black poppy paint. Last but not least, add some chocolate to the stick to attach his tree branch hair in place for his signature hairstyle. Another staple for any dessert table are Rice Krispy Treats, especially in this unique snowflake shape and design. Anna likes to follow the recipe on the back of the box since it contains the perfect amount of butter without being too greasy for the snowflake shape. Don't forget to spray your saucepan with non-stick and start melting 3 tablespoons of butter over low heat to ensure the butter melts completely without browning it. And after that's ready, we can pour in 1 package of mini marshmallows. Before giving that a stir, I also sprayed my spatula with non-stick as well. Non-stick is your best friend for this sticky mixture. All you want to do is stir the marshmallows and butter together. Right now, it looks like a mountain of snowballs. We want to keep stirring until all the chunks are gone and it resembles what looks like a gooey but delicious marshmallow sauce. After you have your sauce, go ahead and pour in the Rice Krispie cereal. You will need 6 cups total. I like to add half at a time and stir to make the job easier. thoroughly scraping everywhere around the sides and underneath to coat the cereal with the buttery marshmallow mixture. Right before pressing into the pan, be sure to spray your hands and the pan with nonstick. I prefer a 9x9 inch pan over the 13x9 that's recommended on the box. The 9x9 makes a sturdy, firm shape for the snowflake without falling apart. And the most important tip is that they are tightly packed to prevent craters or holes from forming after cutting. So slap the Rice Krispy Treat to tightly pack the cereal into a strong sheet-like layer. Before cutting, I cover with plastic wrap and allow them to set for several hours until firm. The fun part is grabbing a snowflake cookie cutter to cut out the snowflake shape. I help it along by hammering down with the mallet first and pressing down, then cutting off the scraps and gently peeling away the extras. I clean up any hanging edges while the cutter is still there by shaping and molding with my hands without distorting the shape, and we are all ready to dip. My method is to flip the Rice Krispy Treat over on the flatter side and dip into a deep, wide bowl. Then let the excess drip back into the container and shake with the Rice Krispy Treat straight up. This method is neater rather than dipping the whole Rice Krispie while also saving chocolate. And guys, if you are enjoying all these treats so far, make sure you join the party and subscribe to see more of my tutorials every time I upload, and hit that bell to receive all notifications. To pipe, either chocolate or royal icing works well, but I had extra royal icing on hand, so I made use of that. I fit a piping bag with tip number 2 and piped a straight line from corner to corner to let them overlap. Then at each end, pipe 2 V-shaped arrows. I face the arrows so it looks like they're shooting towards the middle to achieve the snowflake design. Once you finish piping all the arrows, it's time for these snowflakes to shine. Place a silver dragée or edible pearl in the center and sprinkle on a silver edible glitter to transform this Rice Krispie into a sparkling snowflake. It makes such a simple yet decorative treat that's Anna's favorite. Next, these Winter Wonderland themed cake pops are a must for any frozen theme party. Since I filmed this video a while back, my cake pop method has changed and evolved a lot. The Pillsbury box mix is probably the only thing that stayed the same. I definitely recommend you watch my free cake pop class to see how I prepare my dough and roll the perfect ball shape. All the secrets are included in that tutorial. I will link that in the top right. It's one of my most informative treat guides on my channel. In this video, I show molding the dough with the 1 ounce round My Little Cake Pop mold. However, I prefer using the meatballer from my Amazon store for smaller cake pops. It's all based on your preference. Just keep in mind the pops become larger after dipping. Once your pops are rolled, the next essential step is inserting the sticks. Start by dipping the lollipop sticks into a small amount of chocolate, then placed upside down right in the center. These silver bling lollipop sticks from Amazon are what I recommend. They are specifically designed for cake pops, which is so important because anything else may be too heavy and will weigh down the cake pop or fall over. Allow the sticks to set for 15 minutes to form a seal before you coat the cake pop by dipping into the chocolate. As with the other treats, the chocolate should be fluid enough for a smooth dip. The first design are the crown cake pops. To take the solid chocolate to the next level, I'm brushing on the soft blue luster dust from Bactel. An easy way to make the fondant decorations are to dust with a layer of cornstarch, especially on the surface of any cutters, mats, or molds. First, I'm cutting with my snowflake plunge cutter for the snowflake decoration. I prefer to bump up the fondant with the Wilton Pearl Luster Dust. We don't want any of the decorations to appear dull. It appears very subtle on camera, but I tried lusterizing the snowflake with the Sugar Art Sterling Pearl Luster Dust. However, it didn't show up compared to the Wilton. My favorite decorations on the cake pops were the mini crown charms. All I'm doing is rolling a tiny ball of fondant to press inside this mold that has crown and key decorations. Squish the ball into the cavity with the crown until the mold is completely filled and carefully stretch to remove. I add silvery shine by brushing on the silver edible paint that we used on the Snowflake Oreos earlier. It's all about the details. Attach the crown in place by dipping a toothpick into melted chocolate to dab a small amount on the back as well as the back of the snowflake. The toothpick method gives you more control while keeping the application neat. This design is classic, elegant, and beautiful. I did the same for the white cake pop with the Sterling Pearl luster dust from Sugar Art and Volchem brand luster dust in pastel purple on a purple cake pop. It's always fun to vary the colors with any design. Finish by adding the snowflake to complete the look. Another popular design are simple yet sparkly. Don't forget to evenly spread edible adhesive and sprinkle edible glitter such as tinker dust around the cake pop to stick on the edible adhesive for cake pops that make a sparkly statement. The other alternative to a sparkly design are these standing sugar cake pops. Not only are they gorgeous but tasty as well. The other plus is the standing sugar is slightly more forgiving. The edible adhesive isn't seen as much underneath. I like the combo of a white cake pop with silver standing sugar to stand out in this set. The final treat to complete the selection on the dessert table are these stunning marble donuts made from a baked donut. Unfortunately, I filmed the tutorial at the time with this funfetti donut mix. Since it just came out, I thought it looked really cool as a quick shortcut to save time, but I wasn't a fan of it because the texture was pretty dry and not what I expected. Instead, I recommend making the vanilla baked donut recipe from the Wilton blog. I will add the link to the description box. I also show making it in my Dunkin' Donuts themed treats video to make donut cake pops and regular donuts. They were so tasty and easy to make. Definitely give that recipe a try. When you are finished mixing the batter, grab a donut pan. This is the Chicago Metallic non-stick donut pan with 6 cavities. The recipe makes 1 dozen, so I have 2 pans. Don't forget to spray with non-stick before filling the pan. I load the batter into a pastry bag and cut a small triangle off the tip, filling each cavity a little more than halfway to make a full-size donut. If you prepare the wilted recipe, pop them in the oven to bake for 10 to 12 minutes at 325 degrees or until a toothpick comes out clean. What you are going to need for the marble technique are a plain vanilla glaze to frost them, purple and blue gel food coloring for the marble colors, a drying rack, some popsicle sticks, and edible glitter is optional. Before we get to marbling, let's whip up this vanilla glaze to frost the donuts. Combine 3½ cups of powdered sugar with 9 tablespoons of heavy cream, 3 tablespoons of butter, 1½ tablespoons of vanilla extract, and 1½ tablespoons of white corn syrup. The corn syrup is one of the most important ingredients that give the glaze stretch and flexibility. Just give that a mix. You will notice the glaze mixture is an ivory color, not a straight up white, so feel free to add a small amount of whitener to it if you prefer the yellow tones to be removed. Just be careful not to add too much whitener or it can ruin the glaze. To give you an idea, here's what they look like side by side without whitener and with whitener added. Finally, it's marble time. With the first color of gel food coloring, which is a neon purple, I'm scattering several dots more towards the middle and going over it with some blue. Then take the popsicle stick and swirl with a zigzag motion vertically and horizontally. After that, I add some more drops of color on the outer edge where there's more white and swirl through again. The most important tip is not to use too much color because you can always add but not take away, and there needs to be enough white in there for the marble effect. Position the donut towards the outer edge first, push and dunk it in to absorb the color, and finish with a twist as you lift the donut up. It will appear messy at first. Shake it a little bit to settle out the glaze and place on the drying rack, topping it off with edible glitter. I hope you guys enjoyed making these frozen inspired treats with me, and it gave you some magical dessert table inspiration. Happy holidays, everyone. It's Christina here. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.